And welcome to your weekly interval. This is the Best Damn Nerd Show. I am your host, Microphone Alchemist Bimbo Jimbo. With me tonight, Imperial Commissar Jeff Budd.
Comic-Con's over already, fellas. Boo-hoo.
Chief Science Officer of Star Labs, DC Lapdog, Mark Truex. DC Lapdog at home, Mark Truex.
It's like we were there, but not quite.
Not quite. And Professor Chris Davis.
Delirious and ready for Chinese food.
We are recording this on Comic-Con at Home Sunday, and one of the Best Damn Nerd Show's traditions is that we get a little Chinese food at the Truex household, but since he betrayed his city and left, even before the coronavirus, that would not even be happening if it wasn't for this pandemic. But welcome back, everybody. This is going to be sort of a more old-school vibed feel episode of the Best Damn Nerd Show, as we have some news-related items to get into. We are going to break down Comic-Con at Home, what we liked, what we didn't like, everything in between there. But, before we get into that, we have to start on somewhat of a somber note with Regis Philbin passing away at the age of 88, an icon in television. It was very sad to see that news pop up. And, I know he is obviously known the world over for some other shows they did, like Live with Regis and Kathy Lee and Regis and Kelly and all these other things they did. But for me, I really, I knew Regis with the stuff that he did with the WWF/WWE. But what I loved watching Regis Philbin on more than anything was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And that, to me, was just such a great show when he was hosting it, and was so much fun to watch. The whole final answer trope that is now part of our vernacular and everything. He was such a great host for that show. But Jeff, what was your reaction, and I guess just sort of your feelings on Regis Philbin?
I mean, he lived a very full life, I suppose. I don't find it that sad because he was very old. I don't know what you want from me on this one. I mean, all right, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? It came out how many years ago? I mean, I liked the show just fine. I didn't watch Regis and Kathy Lee or Regis and Kelly. It was on when I was at school. I used to see him on Letterman show a couple of times. He handed out cookies. Yeah, I don't really care.
Okay. Fair enough. Is that your final answer?
Let me ask the audience, guys. What do you think?
He's right. He doesn't care. Marco, do you have a more sympathetic thought for Regis?
Well, I mean, it's not that I don't care. Regis was awesome. I loved Live, and both with Kathy Lee and with Kelly Ripa. I'm more of a Kelly Ripa guy myself, but Regis was there, and he was amazing. And Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was awesome, and just Regis always seemed very animated and jovial and fun. So I loved him as a personality on TV, but at the same time, yeah, he did live a very full, fulfilled life from my perspective. And I just like that he was able to actually get off air and retire and have some final years away, as opposed to just being run ragged on screen and then dropping off. You know what I mean? He actually retired with intent is what it seemed like. And that makes me feel good.
Yeah, no, I think that is well said. And you both talking about that he did have a full life. 88 is a pretty good run. But I definitely, again, was a fan of his work in the wrestling world, having guests on over the years. He got it when it came to that stuff. So I appreciate him for that and for Millionaire. Davis, what about you?
Yeah, I can't say I care too much. I kind of echo Jeff's sentiment in that, he lived a full life, and he just always seemed like a happy guy. And I'm not saying he was or he was acting the part, but I know he brought a lot of smiles to people's faces. He made a lot of people laugh, and if you can do that in your life, I think you had a good one, and I think people can thank him for that. And yeah, he just seemed like a very uplifting individual, and that's something to be grateful for.
Yeah, I agree. He definitely was very uplifting, and I keep coming back to Millionaire, but God, I loved watching that show, and it was really his delivery and the dramatic pauses in between whether they got it right or not and stuff. Wow, what a fun show that was. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire when he was hosting it. All right, let's transition from the passing of Regis Philbin, and of course condolences to his friends and family, to condolences to fans of Justice League or whatever. Zack Snyder.
Get out of here.
Well, at least Henry Cavill seemed to be more affected because he was wearing black. Zack Snyder revealed the black suit Superman from the Justice League Snyder cut. DC at home lapdog Mark Truex, what'd you think of the little sneak peek you got there?
If you kill Superman, he has to come back in a black suit. It's just the way it is. So it's great that they brought him into this, and I can't wait to see how it comes out on HBO Max.
So does that mean they're cutting out that whole scene where he like comes out of his grave in the Justice League?
Yeah,
Right. That was a great scene.
Joss
I
Whedon
will lie.
thing.
Yeah, not gonna lie, that was a really great scene. I liked how the Justice League movie came out overall. Steppenwolf, but still, it was a good movie overall. I would have liked to see Darkseid, and so everything that's shaping out here looks like we're probably actually going to get some more Darkseid. And for Superman again coming back from the dead, black suit Superman. Wish he had a little bit longer hair mullet going on. You know what I mean? A little more true to form would have been great to see. But I like the black suit. I think it's very reminiscent of the time and the story.
How's that black suit work? Does it just change? Is it like decomposing with him?
I thought it's what he wore in like the Kryptonian rejuvenation chamber or something like that. I don't know. It's like back from the 90s, so I don't remember the comic exactly. But I feel like the suit was like help healing him for a little bit, and then he was able to transition back to his actual costume. Mark, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I actually don't recall the exactness of why. I just know aesthetically it worked great. Yeah.
Well, the listener knows. Like, the world was in mourning. Discord. Yeah.
Well, I guess for me, I have to echo what Mark said in this sense that I liked the Justice League movie as it was released. So I am not so, I guess, red hot over the Snyder cut coming out. I thought that the Superman we got in Justice League, was the best Henry Cavill Superman that we've gotten to date because he had his upbeat moments, the things that they showed, with him, those kids that want him on his podcast and stuff like that. That's Superman. And we got a lot more of that sort of Superman from him. So I just haven't been sort of on one about this Snyder cut. I know a lot of fans are, and it just felt like very in vogue to crap on, the Justice League that we got. I thought Justice League was a good movie. Steppenwolf was a forgettable villain, but it was a fun team up with the group of heroes that we got. I thought, Jeff, what do you think about the Snyder cut and the black suit Superman?
Well, I mean, let's make it 3. I also enjoyed the Justice League. I mean, it has plenty of weaknesses, and I can understand people criticizing it for what it was. I'm not a huge fan of Zack Snyder and the work that he's done with Warner Brothers, but this was really, grassroots type push from the fans, and it's, what they want to see. And Warner Brothers is actually, acquiescing to their request, which I think is terrific. I think it's a good trend that maybe Hollywood should, hop on. And so I hope it's everything that the fans are hoping for. And hopefully brings like Ben Affleck back into the Warner Brothers fold, and he is going to get his Batman movie and everything like that, because I didn't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater when not all of those movies were performing at the high level that they were expecting.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the phrase "use baby out with the bathwater" is exactly what I think about.
Like an evil Batman baby.
Yeah, like with evil baby Batman, which we will get to that in a little bit here. As we talk about DC at home, we absolutely will. But Davis, what say you about Justice League and Snyder and all that jazz?
I'm not as high on the movie as you guys are. I did enjoy it. It was fun, but there was definitely you could tell the tonal changes in it with the directors, and I would really like to see where Snyder was going, regardless of the fact how I feel about Snyder's past films. I would just like to see his final project and what he would want to put out there, whether good or bad. So don't split it between two people. But that's where it should go, and I am excited for it. And I, like Jeff said, I'm glad that they're actually accepting the fact of doing this and adhering to what the fans want, and that's cool, and that's something that we haven't got a ton of. And
did the fans love Batman v Superman?
No, but I think what happened was the tonal shifts in Justice League made it pretty obvious that, it wasn't the movie that it was supposed to be. So Justice League not performing well, it was like, well, that's because it wasn't really the Justice League that was supposed to be produced. And I do think there is a sizable part of the Warner Brother movie fan base that were like, this isn't the MCU. And they are going to take a different tone, and I do prefer it that way. So, I mean, there are a lot of defenders of Batman v Superman still to this day, and I get where they're coming from, especially because we are starting to get MCU humor fatigue and everything like that. I just feel that there is a middle ground, and I mean, Fox was starting to figure that out, maybe, with Deadpool.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we'll see how it goes. I want everyone to be accurate to the character. So, dark and brooding Batman, of course, makes sense, but, Superman doesn't have to be this way.
I completely agree, and that's sort of what I'm driving at, is that it's not like Snyder got Superman right, in my opinion, in how he was written. They got the right actor, but they did not really write him correctly until really Justice League. And I know it was a lighter tone, but it was not nearly as light as the MCU movies, except maybe with the notable exception of Aquaman, in the Justice League movie, and even him. I get what they were trying to do. For me, that wasn't more of a duplication of the MCU, but an overcorrection of trying to make a historically thought of as uncool character the coolest guy in the room.
Yeah, that's how I got it too.
Yeah, they just made a gross overcorrection, but I still, was excited to see more of them all together. And I think Wonder Woman was 84 looks really good. And I feel like they've been sold kind of short for what they have built. And so like you, Jeff, I don't want to see them just destroy it all, tear it all down, and start again. So if this is what it takes to bring back, Ben Affleck back into the fold and them continue on with what they have, okay, maybe it is worth it. But if they, if the Snyder Cut's not good, it's like, then do we really want it to continue down that path to begin with? I guess
we already know they're going away from it, though, right? At least Batman, because they have.
But there are talks
it looks like there's going to be like multiple Batman.
Yeah, I mean, there is the multiverse.
Okay.
They can always dip back.
Yeah, and you know what? If DC handles that, I mean, creating like the multiverse in the first place, I think is kind of what helped DC Comics a lot with Crisis on Infinite Earths. And I think it's what could save their cinematic universe, because it's like some things can be related with each other, and then if anything doesn't work, you scrap it. And it's like from a different universe, but you can continue to move forward. Okay,
so here's something that I forgot to put on our little rundown, but something that we've talked about a little bit in the Discord. So you can go to bestdamnnerdshow.com/Discord if you want to join the conversation. But when we talk about Zack Snyder and the Snyder Cut of Justice League, he's talking and giving interviews about confirming that the Robin that was killed off in his Snyderverse was Dick Grayson Robin.
Yes, that's a huge mistake.
Yes, that to me is out of the book of extremely bad ideas, and is an idea of somebody that maybe doesn't really get the sandbox that he's playing in right now. Why of all, like, you're in this world in which you could have a Nightwing character that could thrive. You have an older Batman, and you're going to choose to kill off Dick Grayson. That to me seems incredibly stupid. Mark, what say you?
Yeah, I don't know why you would touch Dick Grayson in that form.
Hands off Dick.
Yeah, get your hands off Dick. I think you could definitely play with him a lot more.
Let's make that a hashtag.
Unless you wanted to try to explore the Court of Owls and the Talons thing, since Dick Grayson was tapped to be a Talon originally anyway, and maybe wanted to incorporate something like that into the mix. But I just don't see that as actually the direction he's going.
It just is a really awful idea. But Jeff, I know you are a big proponent of Dick Grayson. He's one of your favorite comic book characters. What was your reaction to that? And does it give you pause about continuing on the DC Snyderverse?
It depends how much they emphasize it, I guess. My whole thing is I was excited about someone Ben Affleck's age playing Batman, because then you could have a fully fleshed out or fully fleshed out Nightwing character and still have a Robin too. You wouldn't, and we wouldn't have to go through the whole history of Dick Grayson being Robin. You know, you could always just have flashbacks or just dialogue that alludes to it.
Yeah, exactly. That is the benefit of having this older, grizzled Batman, is that you have all of his lore to play with, all these tools at his disposal. And look, having a young Dick Grayson Robin's a lot of fun, but having, Nightwing on the big screen isn't something that we've gotten to really experience yet. And that's something that I would have been excited for. So when I see this, that he decided to kill off Dick Grayson as opposed to, say, Jason Todd Robin, for like, to what end and for what reason? I do not understand that decision being made.
Does Zack Snyder know Jason Todd and the Red Hood? Because I feel like, all right, that's a character he could finally play with and it would work for him.
Yeah.
Red Hood is so dark and would work great in the Snyder universe that he's created.
Yeah, that's kind of exactly my point. Is just it feels like such a misread, which is, I just, when I saw that, it just sort of made me roll my eyes and sort of care less about the Snyder cut in general.
I don't think he needed to say it at all. Like, why even have to say which Robin was that? Like, leave yourself open to whatever stories you want to do down the road.
Yeah, why paint yourself in the corner?
I think he's just running his mouth because he's getting all this attention on it.
I think that's
let's let him talk. Let's see what happens.
He's flexing.
Yeah.
He absolutely is. I think Mark hit it on the head. He's running his mouth to try and create buzz. He's still punching up right now, to sort of regain his foothold, and he's getting traction. So I'll give him credit there.
Wait until he finds out that everyone still hates the Justice League, though.
No.
Like, his movie's not going to be that much better if it even is better.
What I think is neat is at least he'll get to go back to a bunch of things that he was trying to foreshadow in Dawn of Justice. Like the nightmare hellscape of Batman and the what is it, like the apparitions of the Flash in those.
People don't want that though. Like that's just, it's not going to happen. People hated it before Justice League came out.
I think some people.
I think most people.
I don't think anyone hated the hellscape dream for Batman.
I think they would hate it if that was an actual thing. No, they thought the dream sequence itself is fine, but you try to make that real, it's people are going to go ape shit.
Nah, that looked.
They want real Superman.
They do.
Dope.
I mean, aren't you a Superman fan, Mark? Like, don't you get it?
Yeah, and I still like.
Or do you know the difference between Superman and Shazam?
Oh, let's just make the same movies again. Let's just see something new.
Well, yeah, why not
let him run with it? He has an idea. Let him continue running with it.
It's not
you gotta let him keep running with
1970s,
it.
Mark. I'd like to see a good Superman in the screen too.
Yeah, Man of Steel was good.
What was the
Man
best
of Steel
Superman
was good.
in my lifetime other than a cartoon? Fucking Dean Cain?
Dean Cain was all right.
I know, but it's a goddamn TV show.
Yeah, Man of Steel was still good. Superman Returns was fine too.
Man of Steel was fine, and Man of Steel gets away with it the way Phantom Menace gets away with it. Well, fuck, we've got movies after this. They'll fix all the mistakes. Wow,
that is very well said. And again, they got the right actor, but they did not nail the characterization. I have to concur that, look, in this day and age with the technology that we now have, why can't we get traditional Superman? It's not like he's been done to death like other characters, in my opinion anyway, on the big screen. I know they've tried a couple of times, but there's still a lot of meat on the Superman bone just to do him in a more traditional sense. That's how I feel about it. And I've been sorely disappointed with sort of how he was characterized in the DCEU, but I was hopeful that they were getting him right after Justice League, and, but hopefully they'll bring all those pieces together. But let's keep it with the DCEU. There's rumors of a Joker TV series coming to HBO. Gosh, now talk about oversaturation of a character, be it on the screen or in comic books. There is the Joker. Mark, what do you think about a Joker TV series?
I think if people want it, the creatives behind it are going to produce it. And a Joker standalone series, if it's a little dark comedy, would be cool seeing how he interacts with a lot of the other villainy around Gotham in creating this space that warrants a Batman to come into the picture. I could be into that. Yeah.
Jeffrey?
Wait, so which Joker is this? Is this the Joaquin Phoenix Joker? Or?
No, this is going to be the one that apparently is going to be portrayed in the Robert Pattinson Batman movies.
Boy,
The Matt Reeves proposed Batman trilogy.
It's kind of tricky because I don't even know what the tone and flavor of those movies is going to be yet, and if it's even something that I want to continue to explore.
Yeah.
I mean, I ended up enjoying that Joker movie a lot, but at the same time, it's like I don't need everything to be Joker. We made a bunch of jokes during Comic-Con about how, all the comics that DC is churning out right now is like, some sort of branch from the Batman tree, and predominantly like Joker stuff, or of course Harley Quinn. And I don't know. It's just a bunch of noise that I don't really care for. But if there's an audience for it, I can't blame them for continuing to go to the mine if they're still getting something out of it.
That's fair.
I mean, if I was a stockholder, it's like, yeah, make a Joker TV show. Now is not the time to be doing Booster Gold shit. It's like, give me the time-tested things.
I would love a Booster Gold.
Not if my money was on the line.
Love Booster Gold. It'd be like Sliders with superheroes.
Oh, see, that sounds awesome.
You get Sherry O'Connell as Booster Gold, too. He's got the personality for it.
He would do it.
He would do it. He would be perfect. Oh, shit, Mark. Let's get our markers together and start writing this out.
That would be tremendous. I'm on board for that. I understand the business sense. I understand the business sense of just hammering people over the head with Joker and Harley Quinn. I just personally am tired of it, and I think there's more to mine in DC, and it's sort of a besmirchment of a wealth of characters that they have to play with. But I understand the whatever sells they're going to go with. But Davis, what about you? Are you on board with a Joker centric series?
Obviously I'm going to watch it. I'm not against it, like putting it into my repertoire of TV shows, but again, we've seen the Joker so much, and yeah, there's a lot more to dive into, and I'd like to see something new, and just give me something new is what I want.
Yeah, I do kind of worry that the way that they're, just the little tidbits that have been put out there, that it's Joker rising through the ranks, doing Gotham with Falcone, and I forget who the other main villain, Scarecrow. Yeah. I hope it's not just going to be channeling too off of what's already been kind of laid out in the Gotham series, which I still like. Gotham campy as shit, but I still liked Gotham series. I know no one else on this discussion is going to agree with me.
Gotham sucks.
I did think it was kind of weird that they were talking about doing like a Gotham City PD show, and it's like, but we did just get Gotham, it was about Jim Gordon most of all. I thought it was about the cops versus the criminals in Gotham City.
I felt like it kept losing itself and trying to channel in Batman origin instead of just Jim Gordon. I think if they really went into the GCPD and did a bunch of like Renee Montoya and actually like got into maybe some like question action would be super cool.
Okay, but if that's the case, like if they do a Gotham PD show like that, are you doing it during the era of Batman and it's just them reacting to Batman adventures? Because that could be kind of cool, and it's just more peripheral stuff.
That is always something that when they announced Gotham, sort of how I saw it happening too, and almost that Batman, again, you don't really ever have to see that much of him, but you see his handiwork, almost like a Captain Planet-esque thing. And he's there at the end of the episode, sort of saving the day from the shadows.
But yeah, he doesn't interact with many of the police officers, so you could totally do it.
Or it could be like Smallville. You never get to the tights and the cape until the last episode.
No, we want to avoid that.
Leading up to it.
You absolutely do not want to do that.
Smallville was great. And you can have a GCPD show where they never actually meet with Batman, because Batman's only supposed to interact with Gordon. Gordon doesn't have to be the main focus.
But every once in a while, though, Batman does pop in. Like, let's say you're a cop and you went into a building. You don't know that, like, the Joker's there. There's a very good chance that Batman's going to pop in and save your life.
Hidden in shadow.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I'd like little things like that. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
they could do some really
screen reveal until like the end.
Yeah, they could do some really cool. They could do some really cool, like Cloverfield type shooting with it, from the cop's POV. Like if the lights go out or he sees a batarang and then there's fighting, shaky cam type stuff.
Yeah.
They could do some really cool things with that. That would be fun, but I don't think they have the stones or the direction to really do that necessarily. All right, this next news topic I am very excited to talk about. I hope it's true. It certainly brought a big smile on my face when I saw it. Is that the rumor coming out of Disney and Star Wars is that Kathleen Kennedy is either stepping down or getting fired or otherwise parting ways with Disney and Star Wars, and that the awful sequel movies are either going to be sort of wiped away, a la, all the rounds just blown up, or just completely ignored. This is still very much so file under rumor and innuendo, but it is at least exciting that the rumblings have been making the rounds and that there is some sort of displeasure about what these films were, and that there is some type of push to erase or ignore them. And I've even seen growing rumblings, I don't think this is going to happen, but redoing them, which I don't want to see anyway. I think best just to be ignored and we plow ahead and we do Knights of the Old Republic stuff. But Jeff, what do you think about all this?
Well, I'm a big fan of Dictor von Doomcock, who's the one who dropped the news on YouTube, and I love that they have to quote his name whenever they're talking about stuff. He's like a spoof on Doctor Doom. He's like this evil dictator guy who, but he also just drops nerd knowledge and like his sources and everything like that. I'll tell you,
Doomcock is the hero we needed.
Well, we're just like a bunch of Latvarian citizens. We actually view him as a hero and always have.
I know I do.
Yeah. But his sources are good. He's predicted a lot of things in the past, so I firmly believe this. And the article, and it talks about, I forget who the Disney employee was that was like tweeting things in response to that. She didn't disagree with anything he said. She just kind of worded it differently. Instead of that Kathleen Kennedy will be fired, it's like, or no, he said that she's going to walk away. It's like, well, no, she's not walking away. It's just Disney also does not want to renew her contract. It's like, well, she won't be working for Disney anymore. I think it's the punchline to that, which is all we really care about.
Common denominator. Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like, well, no, they're not going to erase those movies. They're going to ignore them. And it's like, well, yeah,
six of one, half dozen of another.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin Smith. But it's like, yeah. but it's like, that's fine. I'm cool. Call it whatever you want to. It's like a rose by any other name.
When I saw this article,
smells sweet.
When I saw this article, I got so emotional. I was bawling tears of joy.
Were you recording it so that you could post it online later?
It was just so beautiful to see that Kathleen Kennedy is getting ousted for ruining the franchise that I know we all loved. I mean, as a kid growing up watching it. But no, I am thrilled by this, and I'm even more thrilled to hear that Jeff is a Doomcock aficionado, and that this might... Because listen, when this first started making the rounds, I was very skeptical of the veracity of this article because, look, it's come from this guy, Doomcock.
When I heard it came from Doomcock, I said, oh, wait a minute. I paused. I said, this could be legit.
So you telling me this makes me even happy. Like, you can't see me right now, but I'm in near tears.
You sound giddy.
Yeah, you sound like you're smiling.
I take a particular glee that this could be happening.
If Kathleen Kennedy ends up like Rainbow Randolph, I will be especially happy.
Kathleen Kennedy's an imperial whatever. This is Jon
Favreau's like the dwarf in it.
Yeah, this is fantastic news, especially if it means that they're going to be ignoring that awful trilogy that they released. And we'll get more into that as the Best Damn Nerd Show goes along. But Mark, what do you think about this? You sad that your new favorite Star Wars movies might be relegated to the ash heap of history?
Not my new favorite. That's a misquote. And I think it's great that we're going to get some other content that could actually play off of the stuff that we all universally enjoy. I think Kennedy never understood exactly what Star Wars actually should be. I think there's a lot that can be said about that. And a lot of the other conjecture I've seen coming out of this, and I think that some of it came from Doomcock too, is that George Lucas would be coming back as kind of sitting
Return
president.
of the King,
sitting
Napoleon from
president of Star
exile.
Wars, but also that Kennedy's not like out. She would end up going over to work for J.J. Abrams, who's still going to be very much involved in some other capacity. So
Yeah, he's destroying DC Warner Brothers right now.
I'm going to be like that drunk Napoleon lieutenant in Count of Monte Cristo movie, just drunk talking about the king has returned and everything. I never knew how much I could miss George after the prequels, but here we are. I'm thrilled. Absolutely. Davis, where are you at on
For
this?
a ruse, George, pretty elaborate. Get everybody to love him again.
Yeah, you know what?
And he's $4 billion richer.
But
if he wants to paint his house green, paint his house green.
But apparently, like the conditions around the George Lucas coming back is that he gets like complete autonomy.
Give it to him.
That, like his word is bond. Basically.
I would rather the captain sink the ship than somebody else.
And
I've
George
learned
is
that
at the
now.
point in his career where he would never answer to anybody again. So I mean, I'm not surprised if that's
like,
what
you want
would
me
be
back.
pushing
It's
for.
what I do.
Yeah, well, Disney might be desperate enough at this point to just go ahead and do it. I thought they were going to try to push what's his name into it. Who's been running Marvel? No, not even Favreau.
Kevin Feige.
Yeah, Kevin
Feige?
Feige or Feige.
Feige.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Like
I thought
Feige.
it's like everything he's done with MCU, and then it's like they were having him say in those interviews, yeah, but I always grew up a fan of Star Wars. It's like, that's what it is.
Yeah,
But
him and Favreau would both be like the three underlings under Lucas would be Favreau, Feige, and
the Clone Wars guy.
Well,
No, not Abrams. I thought it would be the guy who does the Mandalorian, Clone Wars, and Star Wars Rebels.
Isn't that Favreau?
John
Favreau and the other guy. What's the other guy's name? Somebody help me. The guy who created Clone Wars.
I think Jon Favreau being heavily involved with Star Wars, given what
Dave Filoni.
Yeah, Filoni.
Yeah.
But given what Favreau did with The Mandalorian, I would feel a lot better with him, stepping in a heavier role.
But he didn't do it alone, and I don't know. The fan base likes Filoni a lot, and I mean, I'm not a huge Ahsoka Tano guy, but
I don't know about bringing Lucas back. I understand that you're okay with the captain taking down his ship, but I mean, there's a lot of things I've heard about Lucas throughout the years that, especially now, I don't know if if I'd be down for him just kind of trying to write everything on his own. Like, I really hope that he would.
He should not be allowed to.
No, and hopefully that's not the case. But I mean, overall, this is good news, and Kennedy would be out, and hopefully, like the article said, it would just be a veil of the force of where this trilogy goes, and it just gets ignored, and they go off in a different direction. Or
like Highlander 2.
There is Hollywood precedent.
Yeah, exactly. Be gone with ye, inferior movies. I'm so heartened to hear that this has credibility and possible traction. Now, I'm not saying that George necessarily should come in. I would laugh my sick ass off that it could happen, but I only swear by the 3. But this is an important potential first step. So that's it was surprising to see. On the Marvel side of things, they are going to be rebooting the Punisher, but rumors are getting very strong that their interest is keeping on John Bernthal to play the title character of Frank Castle, the Punisher. I think that's a great move. I think, one thing that I think all of us here can appreciate is when an actor outwardly and actively voices their appreciation for the source material, for the fan base, and for wanting to do the character justice. I know Hugh Jackman, even though like X-Men Origins Wolverine sucked, he felt that and he wanted to give the fans better product, and incrementally, like the Wolverine was much better, and then Logan was awesome. And Robert Downey Jr. and his affinity for Tony Stark and everything like that. John Bernthal fits in that same mold. I still remember, as we are going to be talking about Comic-Con at home, John Bernthal showing up, those several Comic-Cons ago and just voicing his appreciation for being able to play Frank Castle, and that has not waned. So I'd be excited to see him keep on with the character. Marco, what say you?
I thought it was fantastic as Punisher. So I hope that, it's good to hear that he's going to be coming back, or at least that's the intention. I just hope they don't erase those seasons from Netflix. I'd rather they built upon it as averse to having.
I'm not sure they're allowed to.
Yeah, I don't think they're allowed to is the problem there. Or otherwise they would probably just carry over all the shows.
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't they just kind of not say anything about the past?
That's what I mean.
Just keep rolling.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you could probably
Can't we
you
just
could get
forget
around
about the
it
past?
most likely, but yeah, I don't know.
What about you, Jeff?
I mean, I wasn't a fan of the direction the show went in, but my problems with the show was never John Bernthal or his performance. I thought he was awesome as Punisher, especially with. I mean, I think I'm more familiar with him just in season 3 of Daredevil because I stuck with that to the end. I liked him a lot. I thought he did a great job as Punisher. He seems to be an awesome actor and just a cool guy. If he's still interested and everybody else is still interested, yeah, bring him back. But hopefully we can do more of a cross promotion at this point where whatever's a show on. Would this be on Disney Plus? I thought they were trying to keep that kid friendly.
No, they in the article they specifically said this would not be on Disney Plus. It's too adult-like. It'd either be on Hulu or I think FX. They said it was.
Okay,
Keep
well
it
then,
on
I mean,
Netflix.
that's fine. But whatever they're doing, it's like don't just make it a show. Then don't have it be self-contained. Make it where he can be in the movies and vice versa.
Yes.
I don't know if they want to do that with the MCU either. If he's too violent for Disney Plus, is he too violent for some of the MCU?
I think he can stay violent, and just when he cameos and
yeah, it's not as graphic.
Yeah, then it's just those scenes aren't as gory, and that's fine. But like you, I have such an appreciation for what John Bernthal brought to the character, in particular in Daredevil Season 2, the rooftop conversation between Daredevil and Punisher in Season 2 is probably the best MCU television that we've ever gotten. And it was just so true to both characters. I thought that was the seminal moment of the Daredevil series, was that interplay between those two characters. It was so good. So I would be happy to see John Bernthal carry on with the Punisher. I liked Thomas Jane as the Punisher. I want Marvel to get it right, to have some type of lasting success with the character, because it's always one step forward, two step back with the character. It seems like that there's audience interest in it, and then it just never seems to really go quite right. And I don't understand why that is, but it's just sort of the history of the character out, even in comic books, honestly.
Yeah.
Very popular when he cameos in other people's issues and series and stuff like that. When he gets his own, not necessarily the same level of success. So I would like them to find Punisher's niche in the MCU world. Davis, do you have anything more to weigh in on that? I know I kind of skipped over you.
No, it's fine. I mean, he's great, and I hope he does come back. But like you were saying, I think they need to use him more sparingly. I don't think they can have just season after season for the Punisher. I think he's just one of those characters. Like he is very deep. There's a lot going on in his history, but I think you can get burned out on Punisher type action.
Yeah.
A little quicker than other superheroes.
I think that's the problem with his own separate title. The last time Punisher was like just moving books and was one of like the highest selling heroes in the universe, we were all like kids. You know, it was like that late 80s, early 90s stuff. It's like I just don't think it goes as far as it used to.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I do think that there is that fatigue factor. Honestly, I think it might be too expensive to do it this way, but I would be fine if it was John Bernthal just popping up in certain TV shows or certain movie properties, using him in stories when he was needed to be there, you know, like in the comic books. I think that was really his niche in the comics, and I think it would be a really cool one to have in these MCU properties. But again, to have like a really quality actor attached to it might be too expensive of a thing to sort of work out.
And that's what sucks about it, because I think what would work best is if you had some sort of like Marvel Knights or, you know, some sort of like street justice show, and then every episode, or maybe they're two-parters and stuff, but they're mostly self-contained. And it's like, oh, this week is a Punisher episode, or that one's Heroes for Hire. I mean, you can get away with that on like an animated program because, you know, voice actors, maybe they do several of the characters and things like that. But yeah, you can't just like pin down John Bernthal and it's like, we're going to need you available for, you know, this, and these many cameos. I mean, yeah, it gets expensive if he's not actually the forefront of everything that he's involved in.
All right, we're gonna take a break. When we come back on the other side, we will be talking Comic-Con at home. We're gonna break down our coverage, what we liked, what we didn't like, and more on the other side on the Best Damn Nerd Show. And welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. And we are now going to be getting into Comic-Con at home, the 2020 edition of San Diego Comic-Con, going virtual. because of the pandemic and everything like that. And we had you covered on Discord all con long. And I got to say, just right off the top, for whatever we thought about the panels and how the presentation of Comic-Con was, it was super fun being with y'all in Discord and getting the band together that way, and sort of mystery science theatering San Diego Comic-Con. In some ways, it was the best con ever for that aspect, because we could just talk through panels. It was great in that regard. What did you think of the sort of Discord con experience, Davis? Because I know you were instrumental in getting that together, and fantastic job by you.
It was interesting because I wasn't sure how this was going to go, how Comic-Con was going to produce these panels, how much effort they would put in, which we'll get into. But with us, it was great. I mean, there's so much that we want to say during the panels that I know we don't, because we can be loud and obnoxious, and other people around us probably don't want to hear it, and they want to hear what's going on. But in this forum, we could say whatever we wanted. And it didn't take long for us to hop right into that and just try to have fun with it as much as we could. So that was nice.
It was great in that regard, and I hope the people that were following along with Discord appreciated our sort of Statler and Waldorfing it. But Jeff, what did you think of this sort of just the virtual and Discord experience?
I mean, I got to echo what you guys said exactly. You need to be quiet. You need to be respectful when you're actually at a convention panel. But if it wasn't for all of us just sitting around goofing on this shit together, I don't know how much of this I would have stuck with throughout the weekend. It was fun coming in every day, and it's like, I'm really just going to be busting balls with the guys. And I liked it because everybody from the BDNS was on, except for John because he was out of town, but he was at least in the live chat for a few of them. So everybody participated. I mean, it's just the four of us talking today, but Tim and Seglia got to weigh in on a couple of panels, and yeah, John was there chatting it up with us just in text form. So that was cool to have everybody. I mean, we've never had a full roster at Comic-Con before. There's always been somebody missing.
Yeah, so it was as close as we've gotten, and I'm sure Zika was lurking in the shadows somewhere.
Ever
watch? Yeah, exactly. Marco, what did you think about it?
While I thoroughly enjoyed getting to watch each of these panels with you guys and us getting to kind of riff off of them and make fun of the people on page or just crap going on, that was fun. I will preface.
Mark's
also,
actually upset with us.
I feel like this year I walked away with less new knowledge of properties I knew nothing about. Like in past years, it was, you'd hop into a panel because maybe you were just trying to fill a gap or just rest and eat a taco or something, and you would actually learn about something new because you couldn't talk over it or anything. You were beholden to who was up on the panel talking. And so sometimes you would actually get to discover some new shows or some new
so it's our fault?
Things like that. But this was less informative this year.
I feel like Mark is upset that we were talking the whole time.
Well, all of them
No,
are
the
so
fellowship was
widely
great.
available on YouTube, Mark. Go ahead.
The fellowship was great. The fellowship was great. I will say,
feel like
it definitely has a difference.
Something else I liked about it.
Mark was just Mark. Have you been harboring this shit all week?
Joe, they won't shut up. I'm trying to listen.
I want to know about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 30 years later.
Dude, they didn't have anyone. We'll get into that in a little bit. They didn't have anything to say. We did. That's what we do. We talk.
It did feel like everyone was there, though, which is thoroughly appreciated, because I look forward to this week every single year with you boys.
Yeah.
And this was the closest comparison we can get to it.
Yeah, it really, and it was honestly, it was super fun having some of the listeners in the Discord chat with us, watching the stream and chiming in. And again, that's bestdamnnerdshow.com/Discord if you want to join in on the conversation. And we're going to be talking more about our listener interaction and our return and stuff like that at the end of today's episode. But it continues to just be a really, really fun experience getting to sort of interact with y'all on Discord. And we'll get more into that. But so yeah, we were streaming it. The first panel that we officially had going was New Mutants. And I will say, as much as we like to crap on that nobody knows who these mutants are, or certainly they're not the stars of the X-Men properties.
They're new.
Not really anymore, soldier. But they're just not successful. Sunspot's not new. But this was actually, a pretty good panel. They had footage to show. They had a good amount of the cast, and they all got to chime in. What was your thoughts on the New Mutants panel, Davis?
They even had they made little emojis for each character that they.
Yeah, I thought that was stupid.
It was cute. They got to respond, but they actually showed some reaction during that. There was some excitement over it. I mean, these actors have been waiting literally years for this movie to come out. And
yeah, man, they might have to keep waiting.
They might have to keep waiting because it's supposed to come out next month, and it's just probably going to get pushed back once again. And so it's kind of sad. You could see the reaction on some of them, like, oh my god, please just release finally. Please just come out. Can we just move on with the rest of my acting career? But the movie, the panel itself was pretty good. It was one of the better ones we've had. They had the trailer at the beginning, and then they released the first couple minutes of the movie at the end. And I gotta say, I reread the Demon Bear Saga the night before. It looks good. The visuals of the characters, the visuals of the Demon Bear, it seems like they're sticking somewhat to the story. I am actually very excited for this now because of this panel, which is one of the few that I could say that about this weekend. So, so they did a good job. They did what a panel's supposed to do in my eyes.
I will echo that. I came in very sarcastic and skeptical about this, as sometimes I want to do, but I left actually more heartened and more excited about wanting to see this. And I think your guys' excitement helped with that, certainly. And maybe none more than Mark Truex. What did you think?
I'm thoroughly looking forward to this now because I missed the trailer they had put out more recently, and I don't really know a lot about the New Mutants in general aside from Ileana Rasputin. And what
do you know about her?
Oh, she is a sibling of another X-Men character. And what I like is that this panel was very much true to what a Comic-Con panel should be. As some of the ones that you get the most out of is when it's these movies or a TV show or something that hasn't come out yet. It gets you hooked on wanting to experience it and giving you the content, giving you all the characters showing up on dais to talk about that experience with it. Day one was very strong out the gate as far as these virtual representations of Comic-Con went.
I was maybe expecting a little bit more footage-wise, and that was a common theme throughout this week and this weekend. But all things considered, New Mutants maybe was setting a higher bar than other panels could capitulate to. Jeff, what did you think of this?
Yeah, I was somebody who has not been looking forward to this movie at all. I'm not a fan of those characters in the comics. I wasn't even, I think, planning on going to this panel, but since it was one of the ones that was going to be a live watch along, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm fine with Davis just, ninja-like signing us up for it.
Davis shanghaied us into this panel.
But I think it says a lot for how many years old this project is, and it would be very easy to walk away, but it had the entire cast there. Everybody still seemed to get along well and was passionate about the project. It would be so easy to be attached to this film and be either discouraged or just over it, or, I mean, if it was a bad movie also, maybe you hope that it continues to stay dead, but they were all into it. It looked gorgeous from what they did show. There's been countless teasers and trailers throughout the years now because it is many years old. I don't know if it is ever destined to be on the big screen, but if it is, I'll watch it.
Yeah, I absolutely will watch it as well. So it was a good start in terms of drumming up new support. So New Mutants did its job there. The main event of day one had to be, though, the boys panel. All of us here on the show are big fans of the boys. If you have not seen it yet, I encourage you all to go to Amazon and watch it. Season one was such a fun ride. See, I like stuff. And it really was one of my favorite new shows of the last several years. And I got bought into it very quickly, pretty much from the first scene and what happens in it. So I knew this boys panel was going to be a big deal to all of us. Jeff, what did you think about what the boys brought to Comic-Con?
I thought The Boys was good. I don't think it was as engaging or as fun as the panel last year, which is what sold me on the title in the first place. I had never read the comics, and I didn't even really know about the show. After that panel, I very much was looking forward to watching the show the week later. After I watched that first season of the show, I read all the comic books and then shared them with my best comic book buddy, Mark. And,
Fantastic.
And it's like we're diehard Boys fans now. It still was a great panel. Boy, they had almost everybody there. I mean, there were just a couple of, I think, like notable absences, or maybe just Maeve. I forget if anybody else was missing. I wish they had a little bit more to show as far as clips.
Yes.
But other than that, I mean, I thought it was pretty cool. And then you brought up a good point about the season 3 announcement that, it could have been produced a little bit,
yeah, that was the one
make
thing.
it more of a presentation.
So they announced sort of casually, like past the butter, that season 3 was confirmed to happen, and that to me was such a miss. And one of the things that we'll continue to go into here is like, this is not like just an independent comic book convention kind of deal. This is San Diego Comic-Con. This is the con of cons. This is the place that studios want to go to show off their stuff. So with that in mind, I really do feel like a lot of these panels could have upped the production value, could have come guns blazing. I always reflect on what Jon Favreau said the one and only time I went to Hall H, and he was coming there for Cowboys and Aliens, and he talked about how he told his crew and everybody in the production and the producers that, look, we're going to Comic-Con. You cannot show up to Comic-Con without footage to show. And how he really, fought to be like, look, I don't care if it's not finished yet. We have to show them something, because this movie, like the success of a movie like this, sort of lives and dies with the reaction to it at Comic-Con. I think maybe that's less true today than it was even then a few years ago. But he got it, and he understood what it was to go to Comic-Con and to sort of delight the fans in that way.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, these studios that, that are sending these actors, again, you said like almost all of the cast were there. You could have easily had a pre-tape of Homelander in costume announcing that season 3 was a go, or something creative and fun like that. Even having one of the cast members announce it, but something that just upping the value a little bit more. And, you talk about last year's panel being what sold you on the title. It's what got sort of all of us. Like, it snuck up on us. We hadn't read the comic. We hadn't been really sort of following, the build up to this show, but they showed a lot of clips last year, I feel like, as compared to, we got one this year, not even a new trailer. And it's not like, the show's not that far off. So I would have liked to have seen more. Marco, what did you think?
Definitely did not give as much content, if you would, as the first year when they're trying to get people hooked onto the series. I loved the couple of minutes they gave us with the whale scene that you can now find on YouTube. And I feel like they just should have given a little more content as to the new character that was up on there with them. Stormfront. And even if it was just like a splash of her in the suit or something, like they're introducing us to this new character. Let's put a little attention to that and going forward, because it seemed like a lot of it was more of a rehash of season 1 and what it was like to be on the show versus where's the show headed. And so I would have liked that for people that were actually fans of it. It still felt like it was onboarding for new people that hadn't experienced it yet.
Davis?
Yeah, this was kind of the start of what we got the rest of the weekend on the clip scene wise. And there's a bunch of shows, including this one, that are releasing in the next 2 months that showed nothing, including brand new shows. Brand new. And and this one, it didn't take much. And I will say New Mutants only had the 2 clips, but it was the most watched panel of the weekend on the views on YouTube, because those clips drew people back to YouTube.
There's something to watch.
They want to find out more. Yes, it's an X-Men franchise, but it's the New Mutants. Nobody cares about the New Mutants.
Yeah, Wolf's Bane.
Otherwise, this movie would have been released.
More like Wolf's Lame. Am I right, fellas?
God damn it.
Hey, when he's right, give him credit.
Zinger.
Damn it. But yeah, so I just, when you have that type of stuff, it's gonna attract more people to find out more. It's gonna boost your ratings, hopefully. Like, do something to just help me help you, man.
Yeah.
Have something.
No, I'm totally with you, and like we cannot talk about this panel without referencing that Mother's Milk put everybody to sleep. Like, he went off on some long sort of philosophical talk, and I'm sure it was very poignant and well thought out, but it was not. It had no place in a boys' panel.
Man,
if you watch the show, the show is so irreverent.
Show.
Yeah, exactly. You guys even watch the show? Like, it's so irreverent. It felt so out of place. And I think they could have done some more to sort of keep the energy up and keep the conversation a little bit more fast paced and fun. But that being said, it was cool seeing, all the boys up there. But yeah, one clip is nice. Having another one though, or maybe a new trailer to show would have been greatly appreciated for this program. But if you haven't watched The Boys, do yourself a favor and check it out on Amazon. I am due for a rewatch. I'm very excited for season 2. And so that is definitely going to be something that we revisit here on the Best Damn Nerd Show. Anything else for
book presentation, Aaron Moriarty?
Yeah, well, that was kind of a common theme too, in terms of how we were watching the panels and sort of looking at how each panelist, how they sort of curate what they're going to show in their their house or what have you, where they're coming from. Chase Crawford looked like he was at a very shitty Airbnb. Like he was almost in character as the Deep. Like, I was not certain that he wasn't in a shitty hotel room in Cleveland and just being very sad. Somebody said it looked like a dungeon. So it was
like a ground level urban loft.
Yeah, that's what it looked. Yeah, I feel like it's just some sort of like back or side room or something in his house, which is good. That's what he should be. That's where he should be, and just set aside. But other people with their books perfectly placed where you can read the spines and everything like that. But even how she had the books stacked, it's like, that's how you organize your books. It would be a real pain in the ass if you wanted to read the bottom one.
Meticulous Jeff is fastidious, but
I'm an observer of people. It's my job.
Yeah, no, it is definitely like picking which books to show off. It's like, I am well read. I am, of the world.
Yeah.
I am cultured.
Mother's Milk's living room or den or whatever that was actually pretty cool.
I agree with that.
The reclining Buddha behind him, and it just kind of, I think he just had that speech set out because he made the backdrop for it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. It was very philosophical. I was not ready for that on day one of Comic-Con. That's a Sunday Comic-Con conversation, so I can take a little snooze, sir. That was you misread the room, but that was day one of our coverage. We're going to circle back to sort of other odds and ends that maybe we didn't stream later on in the episode, but we're going to take another quick break, and we're going to continue on with our Comic-Con at Home coverage on the other side on the Best Damn Nerd Show. And welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. We are continuing on with our 2020 Comic-Con at Home coverage. And we're going to talk day 2 and 3 here in this segment, where really our coverage, I think, hit our peak. There was a lot that we wanted to see, a lot that we were excited about, a lot that we thought would make for good streaming entertainment, and a lot that we were wrong about on that front. But we saved it with our own commentary, and that starts us off with the zombies and coronavirus panel. And so on paper, seems like a great, really fun idea for a panel. You've got Max Brooks, who wrote World War Z and the Zombie Survival Guide, knows his stuff about zombies. And so you could really have a fun discussion about how maybe this whole coronavirus, this pandemic thing, they could have some fun talking, sort of fantasy booking how this would be the next big zombie outbreak. That is not what happened here. Why was this panel such an absolute suck? Jeff?
I mean, I think because other than Max Brooks, everybody was like way too serious about the topic. And so they really were just talking about epidemics and outbreaks, and you really can't cite history because we've never had a zombie virus before. Like, can we just do a hypothetical, and can you just make it fun because you're not speaking, in front of a bunch of peers? It's a San Diego Comic-Con joke panel. I mean, that's what this is. It's a friggin' joke, folks.
This facility is a Comic-Con.
Sure it is. But it's like they didn't mention the T virus. They didn't mention the G virus. They didn't mention, unless Umbrella Corporation, like we said, actually sponsored this panel and was just trying to, blue pill all of us into not knowing what's coming in October. But like, I don't know if there's been any weird like dog attacks in some of the places that were hit first, since like that's how we know things are going to escalate shortly. Or like, what does COVID-19 do to flowers? Maybe it turns them into giant flower monsters. I'm not sure. But yeah, the entire thing was just lame. And then by the time Max Brooks came on there, the audience was lost. We had all turned on each other and we're just making jokes and we're shouting at one another. You guys found out that I was sitting at Mark's place and you were upset about that. And so Mark and I and our friendship was under attack.
Yeah, I was actually very jealous about that. But you're right.
Because Mark and I weren't just going to throw this Comic-Con out. We said we're still going to do a real Comic-Con. So we board gamed it up. Mark and I are both a couple of boring married guys, so neither one of us goes anywhere. So we're not exposed to the potential hit of this virus. I mean, hell, I haven't been at work. I mean, I'm on summer break anyway, so I wouldn't be at work anyway. I don't even know what my office looks like anymore. So what day is it? It's a blur. So it's like we were clean, and it's like, well, why don't we just play board games together and watch these panels as friends should, while we maybe Muppet Babies it in the living room.
Not properly socially distancing, I will point out.
Well, yeah, I said, but we're like in a vacuum.
The panelists were very upset about that, but you're right. By the time that we even got to Max Brooks, it all had fallen to madness. It was just a bunch of nerds talking for it felt like forever. But Max Brooks couldn't say it. I think I'd already had it almost all the way muted, I think, by the time he came on.
Yeah, it's like they started off doing like a chronological order of outbreaks, naming the year, what the virus was, and diving into it. And it was just like by the time they got to H1N1, I couldn't care less.
It was really bad.
All they had to do.
Anyone still listening?
Oh, see, it's that kind of humor that we could have used on that panel.
All they had to do was do a bunch of hypotheticals, and not even hypotheticals. They could just run through. Okay, here's how we've reacted through the months. What would have happened if it was zombies? And that could be hilarious.
Exactly.
Or frightful.
Davis gets it.
Did they do that? Not a chance.
I would have loved it if this panel had, just a real hitter like Dr. Fauci on it. and he's having a blast talking about it. It's like, well, with the things that I've seen, you could easily translate this into this type of media or that, and it would be fantastic and accurate. But no, we didn't get any of that. We got just a bunch of nerds that were having no fun with it. So that was a fail right out of the gate. Other than Mark and Jeff having a Muppet Baby situation going on and
eating chronic taco.
Yeah, so I was very jealous of the situation that Jeff and Mark had going. From there, it was the Avatar: The Last Airbender Legacy panel. And I think the less that we say, well, okay, so this is what I will say about the panel itself. And this is sort of the detriment of almost all Last Airbender panels that I have seen crop up since becoming familiar with the show at Comic-Con, is that by and large, most of them don't spend any time, even in the description of their panel, talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender, the show. They're almost always wanting to focus on the comic books or all these other things that came after it, and not actually spending time sort of reflecting on what was a absolute touchstone of an animated series that should be well regarded and, protected and well thought of. And it deserves reflection, as we did here at the Best Damn Nerd Show. So this panel was no exception, unfortunately. It's a legacy of the Avatar: The Last Airbender panel, but what did they talk about? They talked about comic books. Go ahead,
To be
Mark.
fair, it's continuing the legacy of Avatar: The Last Airbender. So it has to be about new content going forward.
Doesn't have to be.
If it's
I think that should
continuing
at
the
least
legacy,
be part of it. Yeah, I think also celebrating the legacy would be good. But Mark does make a good counterpoint that
got to read the panel description.
Also, but sometimes the description does not match what the panel is.
Who's
at all.
Magic's
And
brother?
We're going to talk about this with another panel too. They love to use the name to sell the panel, but then it goes off in a completely different tangent. If we're talking Avatar: The Last Airbender, well, I mean, that would be Aang, but we weren't talking about Aang in the panel.
Yes.
But we'll use Aang's name to sell the panel.
Correct. That'll put butts in the seats.
Say Avatar Kyoshi panel. We'll still show up because we're fans of that, but most people won't.
Yeah. But what I do think this panel gave us the opportunity to do was address the Best Damn Nerd Show episode about Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Avatar State of the Union episode. And some of you have weighed in about the episode and enjoyed it very much, but that we sort of glossed over some important characters on Avatar: The Last Airbender. So Jeff, I wanted to take this time to circle back and actually do a little bit more Avatar talk, and just, we did not give characters like Azula her due on the Avatar episode because we just had so much to talk about. We mentioned her, and I think it's almost, we made this point when we were talking over the panel, was that it's so obvious what a great character and what a great villain she is, that's almost like hidden in plain sight. It's like that we don't need to go over that plowed ground. But I wanted to give certainly some time to her and other things that we wanted to mention on that episode. So Jeff, your thoughts on Azula?
Well, the good thing about the live coverage of this panel is the BDNS sent all of its Avatar experts. We're still doing things right. It was you, it was me, and it was Tim. And we ended up taking over the panel and just making it an Azula panel.
Yeah, pretty much.
So if you listened live, thank you for participating, and you already kind of know some of the things that we'll be talking about. But yeah, Azula, take all the compliments we gave to Zhao in our Avatar: The Last Airbender episode, and then just build upon that exponentially, because that's exactly where she kind of picked up, is where he left off. As soon as he was killed off, we needed that like lieutenant villain, because it's not that Ozai can face off against the Avatar until the very end of the series, just the way the story is designed. But you need that daily menace to face off against them, and that's exactly who Azula was. She's a perfect rival for Aang, because she's a very formidable military leader, firebender, just talented all around. She actually even has what I talked about in the live presentation, as far as she has like an anti-Avatar group. She has her own allies.
Yeah, who I love.
Yeah, they're both... See, where Azula we mentioned on the episode, I don't think we mentioned Ty Lee or May at all, which is too bad, because both of them are non-benders, which I always like to see formidable non-benders on Avatar: The Last Airbender, because it's just more about the martial arts. And they're good friends with her, and they were just great opponents to have. And then I liked both of their story arcs, and that they didn't stay on that side. They ended up joining forces with like the Kyoshi Warriors or with Zuko.
That speaks again to the balance and the nuance of the Avatar: Last Airbender show. And it is funny. It is one of those victims of the sort of, hey, save it for the show mentality, is that you and I were talking about Ty Lee and Zula's team in the lead up. And I think we were even talking about Azula, a lot before we recorded the episode, to the point where it's like almost we got it out of our system. So I think that was another...
Well, because Azula is Tim's, definitely his favorite villain, but I think just one of his favorite characters anyway. And she is a great character. She's kind of like, once again, sort of like Zhao. I feel they pair up against Zuko better than they even pair up against Aang. And she's kind of like... Well,
she's scary, too.
She's scary, and her life is the life that Zuko basically wishes for. She is adored by her father. She's kind of like the next logical progression as far as the Fire Lord goes. She's an incredibly talented firebender. That was the whole thing about her blue fire, is that her firebending burns hotter than any other firebender that we see.
Yep.
And then also she's one of the few lightning benders. We've only seen... as far as like the actual show goes, like 3 people bend lightning. I think Ozai, Iroh, and her, because Zuko only learns to channel the lightning, which is a skill that Iroh discovered. But yeah, I don't think he knows how to generate it.
And I couldn't continue on. We're talking about characters that we missed, and this is another one that I think I mentioned pre-show, but Combustion Man. What a great... I wanted to see more of that guy. What a cool villain he was, even if he didn't get much time to shine.
Well, see, and then it's like, I know for a fact, I don't know if you watched that bending video that I posted on Discord, where it actually breaks down the different styles of bending and like the different variations of it, but it goes into Combustion Man, which is an offshoot of firebending. And then apparently there's another like combustion bender in the Korra series.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's another person who knows that style. And I'm trying to think how they described it in the what do you call it? What the creators were describing it when they were talking about the character. I think it's some sort of like not radiation, but it's almost like that.
Okay.
So it's like an offshoot of firebending, and then it's like very specific. And then he he had mastered it. We never get a backstory on Combustion Man, which is great. I think that's what makes him so interesting.
He's very
he's
cool.
learned to specifically challenge it. Excellent character design. That's what Combustion Man is, or Sparky Boom Man, if you know him from his original name.
Yeah, Sparky Boom Man, and he gets killed. So that's always
he dies.
Yeah, that's always sort of a hallmark of a character. It's like, oh wow, they actually killed him.
It's great when the characters actually get killed. But Azula, you see her as so composed and so in control until almost the very last couple of episodes of the series, and that's what weakens her and makes it so that Zuko and Katara, and it does take both of them to defeat her.
So there you go. A little bit more Avatar: The Last Airbender meat to give you guys. We did not forget about Azula intentionally or just mention her in passing. We love Azula her. And Ty Lee and May and Sparky Boom Man and others. I mean, we could talk all night again about
cabbages
about other Avatar episodes and characters and stuff that we didn't get into, but we will leave that there right now. I do foresee us revisiting The Last Airbender again, though, in short order. From there, this will be quick. Psychology of Star Trek versus Star Wars. I think this panel served its purpose was that Seglia showed up and proceeded to just rile me up about the Star Wars movies. That was the psychology behind it, is that Seglia knew he could just pull my string and piss me off. But what did you guys think of this panel, Marco?
Well, I thought it could have been interesting where basically they were trying to pick out different pieces of both lords that are maybe have similarities, like the Mandalorians and the Klingons, and then try to do like a psychoanalysis breakdown of the two. But what it kind of fell off right from the beginning is that you had these two opposing teams of scholars that were trained up for this like all hands debate, and the moderator decided to like flip it on them, like, actually, you guys got to switch sides now. Let's argue about it. Like, so you're not going to be prepared at all for this.
Yeah, I thought that was a complete bogus move.
Great debate, and now all that preparation you have is out the window.
And the first person that they went to, her argument could have worked for both sides. And at that point, we were just like, all right, well, that's how this is going to go. We're done. And we just went, and James went on his own tangent rant. And that was the end of that.
I was set up. Was you call the question, I'm going to respond. I don't have any self-control when it comes to that realm. Jeff, what did you think of it?
No, they already nailed it. They sabotaged their own panel by being cute and having people switch sides. It's not that like you still couldn't have like a worthwhile debate, and maybe some of the points they made were, good or poignant, but it's like at that point I just didn't give a shit. And I'd rather it's just us discuss Star Wars and Star Trek.
That's what we did.
The way I was looking at it was I thought they were going to talk about like how it engages the general zeitgeist, the psyche of the fans, why there's so much attachment to canon or particular characters. I thought it was going to talk more about like the general overall psychology of the people that are fans of one over the other. And I mean, even what they covered wasn't so bad, but it's exactly like what Davis said. She was describing Mandalorians, I think, but it definitely was just her Klingon notes. And it took forever for her to get to a point where they were slightly different. And it's not the kind of thing that was like a difference like throughout its history. It was more of,
recent development.
Yeah, recent development and a new change to the canon that made the Mandalorians like that. There was a time when the Mandalorians were a distinct race. And
a better time.
And I think that makes more sense when you look at their fighting prowess and their style and their attitude towards things.
How about it makes more sense throughout just the universe? Like that's what it is. Like there's
and also I don't want them to start painting the Mandalorians as, fighting for lost causes and picking up they're
not heroes like that.
Yeah, they're not heroes. And there was a time when they brought the galaxy to its knees, and it was not good.
And I made this comparison during the panel.
Cool, but he was not a good guy.
Correct.
At least not in the beginning. He was more reflective and regretful in his older age. But yeah, he was not a hero as a young man. He was a warrior. The Mandalorians,
as we talked about in the panel, the Mandalorians are akin to the Krogan in Mass Effect.
Yes,
they are a terrifying war, just a species based upon war, and the might makes right to the nth degree, to the point where, like the Krogan, they had to be almost completely obliterated just for the sake of the universe. It's like that It's like that Norm Macdonald bit talking about Germany and how he's like, yeah, I think we should go. You don't get to be a country anymore on account that you keep attacking the world.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, that's why the Mandalorians are nearly extinct. But it was fun, I guess, getting riled up about Star Wars and some of the things that got changed. Saturday morning cartoons, we went to a panel featuring Adam Zika's hero, Leonard Maltin, no less. So it's good to see him pop back up. I know Zika will never believe it, but it was good to see him. But this panel, to me, comes out, did they even really hit on some of the best Saturday morning cartoons, Jeff?
I would say that they hit on all the key historical ones. The problem was with the people that were covering it, there was nobody there kind of like representing our generation or anything like that. And I feel that 80s Saturday morning cartoons and 90s Saturday morning cartoons, it would have been nice to talk about. I mean, to a certain degree, fuck Hanna-Barbera and it's old shit. I don't give a shit about Josie and the Pussycats. I don't give a shit about Scooby-Doo. And I don't care about like Yogi Bear or Huckleberry Hound or any of that shit.
Droopy
I
Dog?
recognize what they are. But it's like, and like, I'm glad that they talked about Johnny
yeah.
Quest and Space Ghost and everything like that.
In such passing, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was like, exactly, in passing. And then the other thing that they didn't talk about, they mentioned, Warner Brothers cartoons that used to be played in theaters. Now all of a sudden they're being played every Saturday morning for kids to watch. Why don't you talk about the longevity of it? Why don't you talk about how they were still playing Bugs and Tweety well into the 90s?
Yeah.
I mean, that's an impressive, streak, but they left off like over 20 years. I wish they had talked more about the rise and fall and the sustainability. And, it was more than just that there's cable dynamics that have changed and there's a lot of like different competition of why not to just watch cartoons on Saturdays. There's a lot of, overregulation and different like criteria that channels had to like come up with as far as you need this amount of minutes of like educational stuff and you need to like cut back on advertising to like this amount. And it's like, well, then that starts cutting into funds and money. And then at a certain point, certain networks are like, I'm not going to fucking play cartoons anymore because I don't need the federal government counting all of my shows. I'm just going to do a Saturday version of the Today Show, which is what NBC decided to do. And get viewers that way. And it's like, I kind of wish they had just talked about it more, but instead it was like how Hanna-Barbera was founded, which is cool, but that's almost like a different panel.
Absolutely a different panel.
It seemed more of like a pitch for the Warner Archive a bit.
Yes.
Versus actually going through the eras of Saturday morning cartoons and what it meant for each generation going forward.
Yeah, it was what we can buy from them. And it is disappointing that that's all, a lot of these panels become. And I get it that, that's where the funding comes from for the convention and it's still listed as a nonprofit organization for some reason. But it would be nice to just have panels that are retrospectives and it's just like fun history.
Yeah. Davis, were you on that one?
I was, and it was like, hey, you're not talking about my generation of cartoons, and I'm checking out now. So,
Fuck Snagglepuss.
Yeah, because I did. I made one of the key mistakes.
Left even.
Definitely made one of the key mistakes on this panel and did not read the synopsis. I just got excited for Saturday morning cartoons. And,
as did I.
That's because they sell you on the name and it's bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, I want the one last point, and I guess this applies here too in terms of selling you on the name. But I guess Comic-Con, that I think it was the first or second one we went to, the psychology of Batman and his Rogues Gallery panel that we went to was so good and so much fun and the right tone and also informative that panels like the psychology of Star Trek versus Star Wars now forever will have a certain level of appeal to me because that first one that I went to under that guise was so enjoyable. And it's been diminishing returns ever since. And, we've talked about a couple times now that titles being misleading and stuff like that. I am excited to talk about this next panel, not because the content was necessarily good, but because one man set out to save an entire panel's worth of content with just his boundless energy. DC at Home Day 2. Marco, this was sort of your party. What did you think?
So what I liked is normally at Comic-Con, DC has tons of panels throughout the entire weekend. And what they really tried to do was make concise mini panels. twice. So both Friday, the home day 1, and then at home day 2 on Saturday, was it, where they had basically, I'd call them 10 to 15 minute blocks with different creative teams giving their chance to pitch what book they're working on and so forth. The day 2 block that we're talking about was all Batman themed. So it started off with the
Shocker.
Well, I mean, there's a lot going on in the Bat family
didn't they have some Wonder Woman there too, Mark?
They did when they got into the Black Label stuff. There was some Harley Quinn, the White Knight series.
Yeah, just throw Wonder Woman in there.
Murphy. Yeah, well, they were talking about the Black Label stuff. I mean, I wish they would have talked a little bit more about some extra question stuff from the Black Label. But, that wasn't as relevant in this case. So, but what was neat is not just like them talking a bit about the Joker War that Tynion's been working up to on the main Batman title, but as you mentioned, saving the day of the entirety of it was Greg Capullo when it's him and Scott Snyder talking about the death metal series that they're bringing out.
I have to interject because Scott Snyder's giving this like long, very thoughtful explanation of this completely insane world that he's created, and the moderator just completely no-sells it and deadpan pivots over to Greg Capullo, who is the artist. And listen, Scott Snyder and Greg are a great pairing. Team. They are a fantastic comic book pairing and have done a lot of great work in the Batman universe. What they're doing with Batman Death Metal and the metal series is very off the wall and not necessarily my cup of tea, but I appreciate both their passions, and I certainly appreciate Greg's exuberance, because as soon as it would go over to him, it's like, yeah, man, he's like cutting a wrestling promo to him. He's like, Scott's giving me Joker with chainsaws coming out of his head, and I'm just like, wow, I get to draw this? It's like every time he's just like going absolutely insane. They're listing off some of the things, and at one point they just casually mention, yeah, we got evil baby Batman. It's like, what the fuck is going on? It was so, I mean, I knew nothing, and I was enthralled by Greg's performance. He knew it was dying out there. He's like, we stink, I gotta do something. And he really set out to save it.
Evil baby Batman sounds exciting.
No, it doesn't.
As does the Robin King. I think that sounds like a really cool entry into the DC.
Jeff, what do you think about Robin King? Continue, Mark.
Dope. Robin King sounds dope. And that was a nice actual reveal in the panel of this new character that's going to be debuted into the death metal series. It sounds wild. Everything that Snyder's done with the entire metal series is completely out there and dark. And one of Snyder's best things that he does is very horror-driven storytelling, not just with what he did with like Severed and some of his indie books or like American Vampire, but also just his run on Batman with the Court of Owls was very horrifying in a sense. And that's what he's been brought into with this metal series and the death metal series and these villainous recreations of characters where basically we're going into this whole lore of these various evil Batmans from other universes getting brought together. I
liked the fact that they brought a sizzle reel set to artwork and set to music. Like that is something that other comic creators should have done, other studios should have done.
They really made a motion comic trailer.
Yeah, and that's the more stuff like that is exactly the production value that we're talking about. I also appreciated Scott Snyder talking about his care for the projects and the characters that he's been put in charge of to be true to them and handle them with respect. I really have so much admiration for Scott Snyder. I think he really is a phenomenal comic book creator, and he is a big fan of Davis's Phantom costume.
He did love it.
But what I really liked was as we were talking about Jeff and Mark hanging out, and that they had the shakaroni pizza from Papa John's, and how at this point it was wreaking havoc on them, and the more and more over the top that Scott and Greg were getting with their creations, we came up with like a shakaroni verse. It's like a shakaroni Batman that Greg Capullo is just like super excited to draw. It's just completely a Batmobile that runs on their garlic butter. But how was the shakaroni, boys?
It was still a good pizza. It just was underwhelming compared to the way they're presenting it in commercials.
Con food.
havoc on my insides. It felt like Comic-Con.
That's true. Yeah, it destroyed me the next morning. My body was not prepared for that.
All right, what did we think about the Constantine 15th anniversary panel? My takeaways were Keanu Reeves working it into his contract that they had to shoot in L.A. that he would not leave L.A. to do Constantine. And as we looked more into it, just the budget getting out of control for the movie. What did you think of the Constantine panel, Davis? You watched the movie the night before, right?
I did. I watched it so I could get hyped up for it. It's been years since I watched it, and let me tell you, it holds up, and it's actually pretty good. A lot better than I remember it. That's for sure. And I think it has a lot to do with just being so MCU'd, themed out, and just that universe and the comedy in it. It was a good noir comic adaptation, and it's a fun movie. So if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. They're thinking about either rebooting it or making a sequel now, possibly with Keanu Reeves. But from this panel, I also think I need to go back and watch it, because one of the producer or the director mentioned something about him just showing up when it was his time to film on a motorcycle and then leaving right after, and then Keanu didn't even want to touch it. So I think there was something else in Keanu's career at that time where he just wasn't feeling like a whole lot of on-set
that
stuff.
Sweet Matrix money.
Yeah, and he was definitely a different person, I think, at that time in his life. He just got done with the Matrix, and I think he felt like he could pretty much do whatever.
Or didn't want to do anything, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but he's a different person now, and he's seems a lot happier because of it. So.
Yeah, I was a fan of the Constantine film when it came out 15 years ago. I had not read any of the Hellraiser comics or anything like that, so as far as my attitude towards John Constantine, the character, I was just taking whatever the movie gave me.
Yeah, same.
I like Keanu Reeves. It was cool to get to see him get to do a couple of panels on this day at Comic-Con, and I mean, he seems to look back on it now fondly, at least, kind of like what Davis was hinting at. I don't know how much he was a fan of it back then, but now he seems to at least look at it somewhat favorably.
Yeah.
Them filming in LA is definitely a bad idea. Especially because, not that Keanu Reeves wasn't a star, because we were talking about the Matrix films, but that doesn't mean that people just go to see that actor. And the character John Constantine, I mean, fuck, dude. When I went to go see it, I don't even think I knew that he was a comic book character.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I did either, to be honest with you. So
it's not like you're getting a ton of fans of the comic book. And then, of course, the people who are fans of the comic book are, going to be criticizing and complaining all the things that they changed. He's not British. He's not blonde. What the hell kind of coat is he wearing?
Why are they in LA?
Yeah, it's like all this shit. So it's like, who is going to go see that?
Is he going to rip that cat's face off? Mark, what'd you think?
I liked all the talking of kind of Keanu as like a diva, if you would, where it's like, has to be in LA. I'm not dyeing my hair. I'm not wearing that coat. That's how I took it. And more power to him. He had all the power in his hands at that point in time. But what I thought was a really interesting
revelation... he might want to change the coat color after the Matrix, but I digress. Continue.
I think what was an interesting revelation is that they were trying to treat it as a comic book property, and they wanted it to be successful, and so they made sure they were trying to do a PG-13 movie, and so they pulled the punches as far as a lot of the source material went. And then at the end of the day, they got the R rating anyway, just because it's dealing with hell. Yeah, even though
it's like a subject matter type thing.
Yeah, it's just like, nope, this is going to be rated R. And if they could have actually tried to make an R-rated movie, I think it would have really,
They couldn't go back and fix it at that point because Keanu had wreaked havoc on their budget, having all those props duplicated as gifts for people on the cast and crew. That was a cool prop that they brought up, though. The holy shotgun is super rad. I wish I had one. Guess I got left off his list.
There's a bunch of extra ones.
Yeah, in my mind, Keanu just has them as gifts that he gives out every year. He's just sitting on a stockpile of them, and everybody thinks it's like the one he used in the movie, but it's just replicas that he's had made. We are not done with Keanu, as maybe the best panel of Comic-Con from home also involved him with the Bill and Ted Face the Music panel. I think this was the best panel that I watched, just from a overall enjoyment and excitement, production value, all like clips. This was a Comic-Con panel, in spite of the fact that it was moderated by Kevin Smith.
Did a great job.
Did not, but whatever. He absolutely called it that he was, in the first couple of sentences, he was going to bring up how this movie cried, and he
made it cry.
Yeah, how the movie made him cry, and he did not disappoint by saying he was bawling. It was so emotional. What a hack. But that being said, this panel was great. It had the cast. It had the creators. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Marco, what about you?
I think it did a great job of giving not only homage back to the original properties and how the characters were created, with the two writers talking about them doing it in like an improv stand-up situation originally, getting some of that kind of
and I didn't know
the
that
property as a whole, and then diving into where they going with this. The fact that they had the two daughters, Billy and Thea, there into the mix as well, and getting to see how they were interacting with both Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves was great. I think just the chemistry that Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves has is absolutely key, that made these movies so wonderful. I went back and rewatched Bill and Ted last night too, because apparently my wife had somehow never seen it and I failed.
Whoa!
Right? So went back and saw it, and just after coming off that panel and getting to rewatch Excellent Adventure again, just redefined so much of my love with this entire IP. And the new movie looks sick. I can't wait. I have never been more pumped for a Keanu film.
Wow, bold words. Jeff, what'd you think?
Yeah, these people wanted to be there, and they're excited about the project that they have just completed. And so, I mean, that sort of excitement, it's contagious, and it makes you more excited for it as well. I really like Excellent Adventure. I like Bogus Journey. I'm going to at least check this film out. But it did make me kind of just more excited in general for the Bill and Ted title. Because it's like, obviously, I'm fine with them never making another Bill and Ted movie. Because it's so long ago. It's like, you just move on to other things. But, I mean, if it ends up being fun, then, we're all better off for it.
Yeah, no, I think that both of you hit the nail on the head, that I am much more excited for this movie now than I was going into it, and I'm a fan of both the original movies, but I'm skeptical because of the amount of years and mileage in between. But after watching this panel, again, that amount of passion and care that everybody involved, minus maybe the one playing Keanu's daughter, had for the source material, everybody seems to really be excited by this.
She's
and
like
wanting,
her father during Constantine.
Yeah, well, exactly. And wanting to sort of do it justice and do it right. And they seemed acutely aware that, hey, it's 30 years later, but taking that into account, that they want to have it be a Bill and Ted movie. I was very heartened by it. And yeah, they brought clips and they brought excitement. Davis, what did you think of it?
I was not in that panel, my friend. So.
Davis was not there, so...
Well, then let me say
Mark.
The production value of this panel being like the digital screens was far and away the best one of the con, where they actually had each character or person on the panel within their own time-traveling phone booth, with all the electrical highlighting them if they were speaking at the time and everything. The way they cut in the different segments of the clips they were doing. It was, they really brought it to this virtual Comic-Con, and that was highly appreciated.
Yeah, no, I think that's very well said. Again, top to bottom, I think that this was the best panel of Comic-Con at home. I don't know what about you guys, but that for me, that's my pick for the best panel.
Well, that's unfortunate to hear.
Sorry, Davis. You can go back and watch it later, I suppose. It's on YouTube. It was the best one. Sorry you missed it, buddy. I think it's probably the one we talked over the least too, because we were actually interested in hearing what they had to say. Yeah. That takes us to Lovecraft Country, which was not the best panel of the Comic-Con, but it was a show that I was excited about seeing. The issue here is, like, listen, I know Jeff and I are really big fans of H.P. Lovecraft stories and the mythos and the games that it spawned and everything like that. So an HBO show dealing in the Lovecraft universe seems like a perfect fit. My issue with the panel here is that they didn't spend any time really talking about the mythos or anything like that. Right, Jeff?
No, they didn't spend any of it talking about that. And just they didn't do anything that really sold the show. They just talk about like their own personal experiences and how they feel as far as current events and politically, and how that
Ugh.
is integrated into the show. And it's like, if that's what the show is about, that's fine for that kind of show. But I mean, I'm tuning in for a Lovecraft show, and I thought about it afterwards, and I was like, it's another thing where it's like they sell you with the name. They throw the name Lovecraft into the title of the series, so you know that it's at best it's just general, wide brushstrokes. But then at worst, it's that there will be some sort of like vague horror, but it really has to do with whatever their story and agenda is. And it's my fault for falling for it. And it's like, I'm not going to tune into the show. They now have to earn me as a viewer. And it's like, I'll hear positive feedback from somebody else who's watched it, and then that'll be fine. But yeah, no, that panel did nothing to make me want to watch the series.
It was a very disorganized panel in terms of a show promotion, for
I am
certain.
so glad I bowed out before that panel, because the day before, literally like it was Friday night, they released the trailer. So you could see the entire trailer. First time getting to watch it. I'm like, why am I going to sit through this panel now when I already got the main thing I was going to go for?
To be with your friends.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Go back with your friends. We had a Yog Sothoth situation going.
Well, they did start with the trailer, but we also got one clip at the end, which both of those look exactly what the title gives you. There's some Lovecraft themes. It's in the South. You can tell that's going to be during the Jim Crow era type stuff, but then the whole panel, it was just current events and what's going on. It's like, I understand you're using your platform. I understand that, but this is to promote your show, and none of this is doing that.
Yeah, there just could have been a better balance, because now I'm not even sure how much Lovecraft is even going to be in the show. And and I spoke about it, I think I'm not sure if it was during the panel or maybe it was just privately. It's that the idea of doing a Lovecraft story in Jim Crow America is a powerful idea, because then you have your characters who not only is society not giving them the support, but now they're facing this cosmic horror as well. It really plays up on that sort of like just hapless, sort of merciless situation that Lovecraft in his stories, his characters often dealt with, in just terms of how outgunned they were. So I was disappointed by this panel, because we didn't learn anything about the show. They didn't really explain the mythos. We got the mention of this sort of secret society called the Sons of Adam, which I perked up because I love the lore. So I'm like, I want to hear more about this Sons of Adam group, but we only got that in passing, and yeah, we just didn't really learn anything about the show. So that was a miss, unfortunately. When we come back, we're going to talk about our Sunday panel experiences, anything that we missed, and we're going to talk about you, the listeners. All that coming up on the other side on the Best Damn Nerd Show. And welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show, as we are going once more into the breach of Comic-Con at home. Sunday, we started things off with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie panel.
No laughing matter.
Certainly not during the panel. There's nothing entertaining about it. But what was wrong with that panel, Jeff?
They didn't have any of the cast.
Yeah, they had
anyone interesting.
Yeah, they had two guys and a moderator, and it was not two guys and a pizza party. It was just really bad. Davis, what'd you think?
I don't know I still don't know who those guys were. I didn't listen long enough. Like, who are these fools? And it was over. It was nobody cares.
It was a very very poor affair all the way around. But it was, I guess we talked about it during. It was very apropos of what like a Sunday panel would be at Comic-Con. Everyone's exhausted. This is one we'd go to. We'd feel disappointed by it, and then we'd be half asleep in the back. Just trying to soldier on through the final day as Comic-Con has taken everything from us.
I'm just surprised Kevin Eastman wasn't there for it. I mean, that seems like the prime kind of panel for him. Instead, it was these two jokers who, one of them seemed to be trying to like take credit for the Ninja Turtle movie as a whole, because he walked through a comic book shop and picked up a book and said, "I'm going to make this into a movie."
No one would believe in these characters.
Yeah, if you're a fan of the Ninja Turtles movie, I would go to like TMNT 1990 YouTube channel. They did a reunion back on the anniversary of when the film came out in May. And they had everybody. It was hosted by Judith Hoeg, who plays April O'Neil, And I mean, not only was she doing interviews with everybody, and I really do mean everybody was there. Guys who were in the suits, guys who did the voices. There was one person that they couldn't get, and so they had someone who was like related to him who was telling stories. And then even Elias Codius, who played Casey Jones, he wasn't going to be able to make it. He pops in at the end, and then he stays a little longer so he can talk as much as he can as far as how he felt about the project.
That's
and
awesome.
Then Corey Feldman, who voiced Donatello, and somebody else couldn't make it. Judith Hoeg did a separate video with them where they were able to talk about things that they enjoyed doing with the project. And they even did rereads of the script.
That's a Comic-Con panel.
And that's on YouTube. I say you check that out, skip this panel, go to that. And I mean, it wasn't even just cast, too. It was like people that were puppeteers. It was who worked for the Henson Company. It was, I think, somebody who was involved like with the musical score and everything, too. It was a lot of people who were also just interested and motivated about talking about the movie. And that was awesome. Yeah, one of these guys, like Mark already alluded to, was just more about his own self-aggrandizement. It's like, F you.
Yeah, and the idea that Ninja Turtles wasn't already a success,
and people weren't beating down their doors to get their property on their merchandise. Yeah, the Ninja Turtles was very well established at that point. It was a high-selling comic book for over half a decade. It had a hit cartoon, hit action figure line. I mean, they were printing money.
Yeah, no doubt.
The movie was just like the last stop, and of course they were going to make a movie. It wasn't a question of if, but when.
Mark, you spent some time checking out panels that we weren't necessarily streaming. What can you tell us of things that you saw? Say, The Walking Dead. You seem pretty excited about, huh, buddy?
So okay, so I
still watching that shit.
I am the resident Walking Dead fan here at the Best Damn Nerd
was
Show.
a fan.
And I'm the resident one. I've read all the books, and I've still been watching the show. And I moved last year and ended up cutting the cord, and so I've been a little behind on more like newer TV. And so my wife and I, knowing that there was a Walking Dead panel this year, and something that, going to the con, normally it's in Hall H. You never get into Hall H. I've never stepped inside. Don't even know what it looks like in there. So I was excited.
You'll never see it.
Yeah. So I was excited to be able to see a Walking Dead panel.
Floors, Mark.
And so my wife and I were working hard on catching up through season 10 so we can get to watching the Walking Dead panel together. And before it happened, it's like we watched we thought the last episode, the season finale of 10. Turns out it was the episode before the season finale, and they never aired the finale because of COVID, because they shut down production in March, and they had a week's worth of editing left to do on the episode before they could air it back in April.
Yeah,
and they've never gone around to it. And so because of that, like we were scorned, not going to watch the panel, and the only reveal in the Walking Dead panel is, by the way, we're going to finish season 10. You can watch the last episode in October, 3 months from now. 3 months after it was supposed to air, they tell us 3 months later, like a whole 6-month gap to finish a season. Are you fucking kidding me?
It's like the old run of the Best Damn Nerd Show.
It's disgusting. It is disgusting that you couldn't edit this from home somewhere.
Well, it gets taxing at times, You have to be in a proper mindset to edit, and it's just exhausting.
Get it done. Edit, Chuck.
So that was a big miss. I think I lost my watching partner on that show now. I don't think my wife's going to come back.
Good.
It's done.
Mark, you should give up on it, too.
We'll see. I mean, the books were still good. I'd like to see what they do with some of the things they did in there. They were. Their books were great. But yeah, I'm not really digging what's been happening in season 10, and for this to be the ultimate fuck you to long-time watchers of like, you gotta wait 6 months to see this final piece of what happened.
What an awesome moment it would be, even though it's been delayed, is that like, hey, we have the season finale here for you, Comic-Con at home. That's a moment,
right? That's the reveal. That would have been a good thing if it was all that. Here you go.
Here's your reward.
Yeah, and instead actually you can watch it 3 months from now when you've already told us you had
AMC's new streaming service that you have to pay for.
They had a week left of editing, and the talking about this just about, it has to go into post, and then we have to put in special effects, and then we have to do music overlays. And it's like, yeah, I get it. And you said it takes a week. Why is it taking 6 months to get this for us?
Was Hardwick moderating the panel?
Didn't even watch. Didn't even watch the panel. No need to at this point. I got the recaps at the end of that's happening and that Maggie's coming back because their other show failed. It's just it was greatly disturbing for that to happen.
What about Upload with Robbie ML?
So Upload was another panel I watched, and that happened on day one of the con. And Upload is actually a fantastic show on Amazon. It's from the showrunner that did The Office, and it's about this futuristic look of technology. So think of like Black Mirror, but a little more comical, right? So it's like self-driving cars and these companies that have created heavens, like virtual heavenscapes. So when you die, you get uploaded to these different heavens, but not all heavens are the same, because it's like going to one made by Verizon or some knockoff brand, you know what I mean? And it was a really good show. And so I was excited for this panel to get to watch it, and it was one of the worst, like ways that a panel could be moderated. Like, this is the case of where a moderator could really make or break a panel. And while the panelists were all there, the show creator, the main actors, all the familiar faces, and they're all having a good time, the moderator continued to like break them down to stop them from having a good time and making any sort of interesting conversation happen. Like, this is the only time where in all the different virtual panels we saw where you're seeing inside of people's houses and how curated their bookshelves are and things like that, it's like they shipped everyone the same like dull gray blanket to hang up behind them so it looked universal. And the moderator was just up on her soapbox like, here's what I thought about this, and I like that your character did this, and this is what the show's about, and I think your character is really doing this because of this and because of this other thing, and this is why I think it's how this is. Now tell me, that's how you felt, right?
God.
Like, every question was so pointed, and every response back from the crew was like, well, I never thought of it that way. But okay. Next question. And as soon as the crew would start riffing off of each other, she would like cut them down. Like, no. So my question is this. It's like the worst. It was the worst kind of panel you could anticipate. And it makes me really sad because I cannot speak highly enough about Upload with Robbie and Mel. Check it out on Amazon. It's actually it's only half-hour series too. It's comical. It has heart, great relationship building. The technology stuff's really fun. It's a phenomenal show. It's a travesty to see what happened with that model.
All right, well, let's circle back to Sunday's panels. We attended the State of Tabletop Gaming, and our foremost expert on tabletop gaming is Imperial Commissar Jeff Budd. Do you agree with their assessment, sir?
Yeah, Davis and I were sort of paying attention, at least in the beginning, and we kind of did agree with what they were talking about. I mean, it's no surprise to anybody that you're not really getting together with your friends at hobby shops and playing board games right now because of the quarantine. So they were just talking about, would a lot of those companies be able to stay afloat? And then they were talking about how many times can you play board games like remotely? And we're starting to see that everything is shifting. On Twitch, a lot more people are doing board game live streams. I don't think they mentioned Tabletop Simulator, which I thought was weird. You can get it for like $20. A lot of times it's on sale for like half that on Steam. It's something that we're still trying to work out the kinks for, just because we're a bunch of old men, and I guess it's hard for us to just manipulate the stuff. But I definitely do want to just use Tabletop Simulator to play with you guys, especially because we don't live near each other. Quarantine or not, I mean, this is how we could continue to have like, at least monthly board game nights, which would be a blast. They mentioned Kickstarter, and I sort of agree with what they were saying, that it's not just for, people that can't get funded anymore, or like very small up and coming businesses. Like major corporations and companies are also using Kickstarter, and they were kind of course, talking about it just from a board game perspective. My whole thing is, and I know I kind of went on a rant about this during the Brimstone episode, and I'm not sure how it was edited or anything, but are you going to look at us as people that are customers who are pre-ordering, or are you going to look at us as investors? Because right now, you're calling us one and you're treating us like neither. And it's like, if I'm an investor, then you got to be pretty straightforward with me as far as communication and how the product is being delivered. And I think most companies drop the ball. Some of them are dynamite and top-notch, and it's not always just the major companies that are like that. Sometimes it is the the mom and pop people, or like just one person who is really passionate about their project and getting it off the ground. The quickest Kickstarter turnaround I ever had was from this private artist in Minnesota who was creating a dragon book, and it was just different types of dragons. She communicated on a regular basis. All of her like extra prizes and stuff you get for like meeting certain tiers or depending on your pledge level, all of that was delivered on time. I've never seen that before in any other Kickstarter, and it was really her and like I think 2 other people working out of like a rented office, and they killed it. And that's because they knew exactly what their product was. They didn't overpromise and underdeliver. They were just top notch and awesome. I feel like a lot of people need to copy that. Going into Kickstarter, I would recommend that people are very cautious with it. Look at what people are saying as far as conversations. Look at what the people who are backing the project, or not backing the project, who have created the project, what they've done in the past. And if it's for a board game, talk on Board Game Geek with people. I think people are cautious enough on eBay now, and it's like they should be that cautious on Kickstarter as well.
I concur, sir. We attended a Kevin Eastman panel. He's notable by his absence on the TMNT movie panel. But what I want to talk about briefly here is the Nathan Fillion one. And Jeff and Davis, you sort of have a similar opinion about Nathan Fillion, and I would like to clarify it here. Davis, you start, and then we'll kick it over to Jeff, and then we'll finish off with Mark on why he likes Nathan Fillion.
Spoilers.
Nathan Fillion had his Keanu-sans. Let's put it.
I prefer McConaissance, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, because Keanu's the current one, and he had it, and he still thinks he has
McConaughey,
it.
perhaps.
And
We're going with the Keanu thing. Shut up.
We're doing this now. This is a thing. And he is still living in this world where he believes that he is still like this cult celebrity, and he's not. He's not anymore. He's over. It's done. And he said a line in this panel at the end that completely encaptured what I'm talking about here. He referred to himself as the perfect celebrity.
He has perfect celebrity.
He has perfect celebrity.
Like that level of fame.
And
Davis heard it differently.
Either way, I could
kind of says it both ways, I feel. So yeah, Chris isn't way off.
And I'm just so over it. And he's just so smug about himself and the roles that he has. And I love that he loves his projects. He's really into it, and that's great. And he has passion for his fans and everything. But the way that he views himself is just too much right now, and he needs to take a step back.
Jeff, what is your feeling on Nathan Fillion?
I mean, I'm a fan of his work, but he is a smug, arrogant ass, or he at least comes across that way. And it makes him less likable the more I hear him talk. And it's like I said, I'm a fan of what he does on screen, and I like his characters, and I like the projects that he's attached to. But I mean, I think part of it is maybe just what he's participated in as far as like conventions and stuff like that. It's a lot of like ego stroking things.
How
and I
much
think
does your
that
dislike
sing-along
of Nathan
thing
Fillion? I was
sorry?
just gonna say how much of your dislike of Nathan Fillion comes down to Dr. Horrible?
Dude, Dr. Horrible actually doesn't even register in my memory. All right, like
Okay.
I mean, I don't even think about it when I think about Nathan Fillion. But when I was watching him and just like trying to understand like where he's coming from, it's like, you know what? It's because he surrounds himself like with these sycophants, and I do partly blame that type of fan base. And I don't know. For all I know, Neil Patrick Harris is just as much of a douche. But I mean, it's definitely Nathan Fillion. And I'm trying to think what was the other thing I wanted to say about it.
Well, about the panel, like they were just hopping around different different co-stars that he's had, and it was like somebody said it was like a fever dream, and that was exactly what it was, because it's Sunday at Comic-Con, you're delirious already from the whole weekend, and that's what they're doing during this panel.
Davis is exhausted.
I didn't know what the hell was going on, and it was exhausting to watch.
Oh, I know what I wanted to say. It was about Firefly. Firefly was a good show, and I enjoyed it, but it was canceled, and it was canceled a long time ago, and everybody just needs to get over it. And Serenity was not that great of a movie. And if there are so many of you who are fans of all of this stuff, the show would not have been canceled in the first place, and there would have been sequels to the movie, which is what they were originally planning. You guys talk a tough game online, but you're not buying enough. So blame yourselves
Let's
too.
sell some more.
I mean, listen, if I was an investor, it's like me talking about, continue to make Joker comics and Joker shows if that's what people are watching.
Marco, why do you love Nathan Fillion, and how great was his mustache?
His mustache was excellent. That is undeniable. I like projects that he's worked on. I've never been like a true believer in, I guess, himself. I mean, you guys seem to know a lot more about whatever he's doing personally than I do. So I think that says something more about you boys. But I enjoy Firefly. I've never been a crazy brown coder or anything, but Firefly was good. And I really enjoyed what he's always done with Hal Jordan and all the animated DC films. And even when he first started out as Steve Trevor back on the Wonder Woman animated film, which is awesome. I just like him. I think he's charismatic and charming in what he does on screen. Everything off, I don't know much about it at all. Dr. Horrible, I'm a fan of. I like Dr. Horrible.
As am I.
I think it's very charming, and especially when you consider the time at which it came out during the TV strikes and everything. It is really fun to do something like that for fans. Never would have thought it would have taken off into the the heights that it has now, and there's always rewatchings at Comic-Con and things which I've still never been to.
Yeah,
but...
Mark, I would think I was talking to Jeff, is that you are the only one that is sort of always interested with me about the Dr. Horrible sing-along. Yeah, but we never make it. But
yeah,
we've always thought about it.
I'd go, but no one else wants to go with me.
I want to go.
The problem. You guys are the problem.
I'm interested. It's just there's always something else going on at that time, or by the time it gets there, it's like, who's got the energy?
Things would work out for Nathan a lot better if someone would just go, Nathan, cut the shit. Like, just once. That's what he needs to hear. The
con gives and the con protects, but also much is asked. So it's difficult, at times. But I didn't mind. I do like getting on the record your feelings about Nathan Fillion, as all sides are represented on him here at the Best Damn Nerd Show. I want to end this episode, talking about the fans and the listeners. But before we get there, real quick, as we put a bow on Comic-Con at home, your overall thoughts, Jeff.
I hope we have a regular Comic-Con next year.
So say we all. Davis?
Couldn't put it more efficient myself. It's great. We got to chat. We got to be somewhat together, but it's not the same. The energy that is Comic-Con when you're there, when you're surrounded by people that love the same things you love, it's just different. And that's why if this ever did move permanently virtually, like to have the option, Comic-Con itself would still sell out its tickets. It wouldn't be a problem because it's about the experience. And
that's a good point.
I don't think anything will take away from that. And that's why it will continue to go as long as there's no pandemic. And I still think everybody should experience it, regardless of what you thought if this was your first trip down with the Comic-Con lane.
Marco?
I agree. Everything's got to be in person again. I do enjoy that this material is made available for everyone as well. And I hope they can take this facet of it and continue to do it in subsequent years, for even if you're not at the panel, that this information is released later. You know what I mean? And in the same kind of produced quality, instead of it being some bootleg back of film hand cam or something like that, would be really cool. I think definitely there was a lot less studios participating though, and we got a little less features because of that, which was definitely part of the Comic-Con experience, that you got to go and you got to be the first one to see some of these things. I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, I went to the Amazon Prime Video panel like on a whim, and I ended up getting to see the entire first episode of the new Jack Ryan series, which didn't air for a few months after that. And that was such a cool win to be able to see that and enjoy it and have that experience, albeit with a couple thousand people in Ballroom 20. But it was unique and special for me in that moment. That's something I always kind of remember from it. So I mean, it just doesn't quite hold the same. being online. But I like that it becomes accessible for more people too, in some facet.
I am glad that they did it. I think I expected more from these studios and properties that were coming to do it, that they would really want to give back at a time when it was needed. So I'm a little disappointed that they didn't really, every panel didn't really bust out the big guns and really wow everybody. So that is definitely a disappointment. However, I had a blast Mystery Science Theatering it with you guys on Discord. So I'm glad it felt sort of like a civic duty to participate, though. In this year with all the bad stuff that's happened and everything like that, Comic-Con being at home, it felt right to cover it in some way, shape, or form with all of you guys, with the Best Damn Nerd Show. And so I'm glad we did it the way that we did. And I had a lot of fun. Even the boring panels became hilarious because of our interaction. So that was as true to form as Comic-Con gets for me. So I'm glad we did it in that way. And as we close here, I want to, and I've talked about in Discord, which again, bestdamnnerdshow.com/Discord, I've talked about wanting to bring back the fan segments, the listener segments, with reviews, with emails, and things like that. Dear Nerdy, if you need advice, any sort of questions. But we're gonna start today with some sort of heartfelt comments that we've received since the Best Damn Nerd Show has come back, and there's some really stirring stuff that has been said that means a lot. And this first one I'm going to read comes from Jacob on Facebook, and he says, "You guys coming back is amazing. Been listening since 2010, and it's hard to describe how much these shows meant to me. Now, as a 30-something-year-old, listening again makes me smile every time I load my podcasts." And so, Jacob on Facebook, I say a very sincere thank you for that. And, getting comments and messages like that are, really help motivate us to keep going and do it bigger and better than ever. So thank you very much. And this comes from Rally Rush. And he says, "I'm trying to figure out how to articulate this in a review. I love what you guys talk about. The subject matter is always fantastic, but it's honestly the smallest part of why the show is so great. I can listen to a billion different pods and shows talk about the same thing. What makes your show special is the chemistry with the hosts, and you guys have not lost even the tiniest bit of that with this reboot. If anything, it feels stronger." That's the best kind of compliment you can ask for. So I thank you very much for that. And I know, we all here feel that. So thanks so much. I want to read a couple iTunes reviews here before we get out of here. This comes from Schwen_Codfish, I believe. A 5-star review in iTunes, which I encourage you all to rate and review us on iTunes, and your review might also get read. And we have some more here that we're not going to get into today, but we will revisit in future episodes. But be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. And this is BDNS Lore, 5 stars. This show explores the mediums, characters, and lore that define the beating heart of the Nerdosphere. Within minutes of listening, one will know that this isn't scripted fanfare, but is a record of why we are a community. The BDNS has become lore, and it is plenty fun. Also, I just read this review to my daughter, and she recommended that I add, Sonic is fast.
It's not wrong.
Not wrong. But SNES is still better, so you can tell her I said so. And this next one, we'll end with this one. This comes from Zach. "Best nerd podcast of all time, 5 stars. These guys are basically the godfather of nerd podcasts. They've been around forever and inspired so many other people to get into the podcast game. Glad the boys are back." We'll read other reviews, take your emails, questions, and comments in future installments, but those are just a few that really touched us all here at the Best Damn Nerd Show. It means so much to be back with you all, and I get nostalgic around this time because of Comic-Con and everything with the Best Damn Nerd Show. So I want to make sure to put all of those feels out there and just let you know that all that love that you show us, it goes right back to you. So, so say we all. That is going to do it for this special edition of the Best Damn Nerd Show. Have a great week, everyone. And remember, if you're a nerd, always say it loud and say it proud.